there came out a neo-noir science fiction classic called Blade Runner, which was directed by Ridley Scott, who at the time directed Alien, and it starred such actors as Harrison Ford, Sean Young, and Rutger Hauer in one of his best performances in the early 1980s. It was critically raved across the board, except it didn't do well financially. And it was a film that had to go through so many cuts, like the original cut, the director's cut, and the one that I have earlier, the final cut, which is, to be in all honesty, the appropriate version to watch. But it was also one of the most divisive, polarizing films of all time, ranging it from a science fiction masterpiece to just a complete bore fest. However, little did we know that a sequel to Blade Runner was coming out in this year. That's right, a Blade Runner sequel was gonna come out in 2017, which we all suspected that was a terrible idea. I mean, who would make a sequel to Blade Runner? But thankfully enough, a director by the name of Denis Villenueve, who was responsible for Prisoners and one of the best films of last year, Arrival, has finally come down to direct the sequel to Blade Runner, which is called Blade Runner 2049. Now, before we discuss anything further of Blade Runner 2049, let's discuss the movie. In Blade Runner 29, it takes 30 years after the previous Blade Runner film. And if you haven't seen the original Blade Runner, the premise is that mankind has been able to create replicants, human/robotic-like beings, who are able to increase intelligence, speed, and strength. However, mankind has been able to use replicants as slave labor because of their brilliant skills. However, the replicants became rogue and started disobeying and killing most of the humans. To solve that problem, they would hire special officers known as Blade Runners to take care of the job and to retire the replicants. In this Blade Runner, however, it stars Ryan Gosling as Officer K, a Blade Runner known to take out and retire runaway replicants. However, once he gets tied into a big, elaborate, huge mystery that might be bigger than himself, he teams up with Officer Decker, played once again by Harrison Ford, to crack the case. How big is the case, you ask? I'm not telling you. You gotta see this movie for yourself, because Blade Runner 2049 is one of the best films of the year. Throughout my years of reviewing movies, I had to come up with this question, and it was also a question that Chris Stuckman, a famous YouTube movie reviewer, had to ask for himself. He asked, where are the next Spielbergs? Where are the next Martin Scorseses? Where are the next Quentin Tarantinos? The Hitchcocks? The Kubricks? So far, I've seen it 3 times by 3 different people. 1, J.A. Bayona from his last movie of one of the best films of the year, A Monster Calls. 2, Matt Reeves for his masterpiece, War for the Planet of the Apes. And now, Blade Runner 2049 from Denis Villeneuve. These 3 guys are the new masters. And I'm here to say that Denis Villeneuve, you have earned your rightful place as one of the greatest directors working today. This movie is science fiction gold. It is flawless. And one of the biggest things about this movie is that it doesn't feel like, you know, a revitalization of a franchise just for the sake of name recognition. It just doesn't feel like an unnecessary sequel. Much like a few films like Mad Max Fury Road and War for the Planet of the Apes, while it is still a continuation of his story, it is still its own film. The biggest highlight of this film by far are the outlandishly euphoric special effects. As of this year right now, this is some of the best visual effects you will ever see in your life. From the construction of the town in Los Angeles, to the scope and the neon lights, even of the flying cars, it just looks stunning. And to be completely honest, if this or War for the Planet of the Apes gets nominated for the Oscar of Best Visual Effects, I'd be happy. And all of that is complemented by Roger Deakins' beautiful cinematography. Every shot looks beautiful. Every shot feels like a work of art. There is not one single shot in this film that feels misplaced. And Roger Deakins, hope you get nominated for the Oscar. The acting in this film is across the board phenomenal. Ryan Gosling is terrific as Officer K. There is so much subtlety and emotion behind his performance, and while he's still trying to figure out this mystery, he's still dealing with so many conflicting emotions inside of him. And Harrison Ford gives out one of his best performances as the former Blade Runner, Deckard. There are also some really good performances in there, like Ana de Almas, who was recently in the really bad Knock Knock. Please don't see that film. This is a big step up for her. And Jared Leto, while he's still being declared as the next Johnny Depp for having, like, so much makeup on him, he's still really good in this film, finally redeeming himself from that terrible Joker in Suicide Squad. The score, surprisingly enough, is really good. And mostly, aside from the completely overappreciated Hans Zimmer, because for some odd reason, when he's getting in a collaboration with somebody, he always has to be credited first, for no reason. The second composer goes by the name of Benjamin Wallfisch, who's known for doing scores for the recent film that came out this year, A Cure for Wellness. This is perhaps his best score that he's had in years. Guys, as I speak at this moment right now, Blade Runner 2049 is one of the best films of the year, and it's shocking to me how this film is bombing at the box office because not a lot of people are going to go see it. Everyone watching this, please spend your money on Blade Runner 2049. To the completely beautiful visual effects, to the mesmerizing cinematography, to the really fantastic acting, to the phenomenal direction by Denis Villenueve, and the score also really being well made, Blade Runner 2049 is one of the best films of the year, bar none. And if it isn't obvious enough, Blade Runner 2049 gets a 5 out of 5. Guys, after watching Prisoners, Arrival, and Blade Runner 2049, I think we have a new master director on our hands. I can guarantee you that. Alright guys, that is my review of Blade Runner 2049. Comment below, let me know what you thought about this movie. Follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Google+. And also, be sure to subscribe for more. My name is Luke Nukem, and Denis Villeneuve, thank you so much for this film.